Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of CSB, ladies and gentlemen. And yes, you did read that right. We do have our very first celebrity guest coming on this podcast. So, without any further ado, please welcome singer, actor, socialist, and teacher, Mr. Rahul Rajkhowa. It's a pleasure having you on, sir.
Thank you
um,
for having me, guys. It's a pleasure to be here.
for anyone wondering why we're calling Rahul Sir, it's because he's our teacher. Okay, anyways, moving on. Let's jump right into it. Obviously, you're a singer and you're a teacher. And I think Moksh and I have thought of this question for a bit. I don't know why we haven't asked you this in school, but how do you manage your time between your teaching life and your music life?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy. The thing is, I was always very used to multitasking. Back in boarding school, I was the cultural affairs captain, so I had to organize debate competitions, plays, singing competitions, and I was also doing cross country running for my school. I was also swimming for my house, and I also had to focus on my academics, and plus, like, I also had my band. So ever since then, like, I got into the wind of multitasking and handling several things at once. And at that point of time, like when we were in boarding school, everybody was expected to do as much as they could, because it was so competitive. Like our school was like a mini Hogwarts only. We were super, super competitive, and we had to try and do as many things as possible. And I remember when my father had come to boarding school to pick me up, I think one time after, the parent teacher meetings and stuff. So we had these boards in our school, like top academics, the people who had performed well in their studies, the top sports persons, another long list, and then there was the top all-rounders, and that list was the smallest. And my dad was like, I need to see your name on that list. So it was basically the desire to make it onto that list that helped me explore the idea of multitasking. And that's why, like, now I'm still, the only way I calm myself down when it gets very, very overwhelming is I keep telling myself, no, we'll just do it like how we did it back in school. We can manage this, we can manage this. So that's the only way I've been like able to push through this. It does get stressful though, I won't deny, because they are completely two different lives. And like, academics, it also gets very taxing. It's because you're not only responsible for your own studies, you also have to prepare yourself, and you are responsible for the lives of others who are dependent on you for receiving education, making into the college of their choice. So because of that, it does get stressful. And then you're also thinking about, have my songs been lined up, when are they releasing on Apple Music, is everything on in sync with Spotify? So it does get stressful. And then you're planning your tours, and plus I manage myself, like, I've dealt around with a couple of managers, and I've realized in this industry that I'm more comfortable working things out myself. So it does get a bit more pressurizing. But yeah, I tell myself it's all cool, just like school days.
Growing up, speaking of school days, who was your idol and why?
Who was my idol? I'll be honest though, one of my first idols was Subhash Chandra Bose, because in the eighth standard, like how I developed my love for history also, we had this really cool history teacher, Dr. Panda. Props to him. He's now the principal of Sanskar Valley School in Bhopal. He basically used to take political science for the senior students, but he used to teach history to the seventh and eighth graders. All right, like his task was to generate the love for history. And I remember the first project that he gave us, he divided the class into groups of four and five, and he gave everybody one national leader. So up until that point of time, all of us were thinking Mahatma Gandhi had everything to do with the freedom movement in the country. And he assigned us Subhash Chandra Bose, and I started reading about his life, and it was just so inspiring, like, to crack the civil service exams at a time like that, while the Congress and all the moderate leaders, everybody was trying to peacefully uh, seek freedom from the British. Here is one man who decided to go meet Hitler, decided to go and join with the Japanese army and lead a full aggressive front, create the Indian National Army. It was a very, very difficult task to pull off at a time like that. So I think that's one of my first role models, because it was a very difficult journey, and he was under house arrest. He disguised himself as a fakir, managed to travel through so many countries, through Russia, and then, learn about socialism, learn about the cause of, freedom, how important it is to have self-determination. So very, very inspiring. While, and how many people do you find who have become the president of the Congress, but because Mahatma Gandhi was upset, he actually gave away his post and he said, like, I don't want the father of the nation to be upset. You know what? If he's upset that I have become the president of the Congress, let somebody else be it. I'm going to lead another front. So you don't get to see too many people like that, who make sure everybody's happy, but at the same time still carry on with their dream and end up doing what they believe in. So yeah, that's one of my first role models, Moksh, to answer your question.
And are there any now?
Are there any now? Uh, at this point of time, you know, I won't uh, I won't consider this bragging when I say it, but I honestly don't know too many people like me, like who are doing the things that I am doing right now. Because when it comes to music, definitely I love John Mayer's music. It's been a huge inspiration when it comes to songwriting and guitar playing. I love Drake's production, his vocals, and his songwriting skills. Again, I love J. Cole, I love Kendrick Lamar. I do consider these people my role model in the field of music. Um, but I don't know of anybody else who's like managing academics, who's acted, who runs their own NGO, does philanthropy, at the same time, works on conscious music, not just music for the sake of it, can play as many diverse genres as I do. Like, I actually don't know of any other artists who can do reggae, pop, hip hop, acoustic music, soul, fusion music, sing in like 4 or 5 different languages. The day I find somebody, maybe I'll be able to answer your question, Moksh. But so now I have inspirations, but to answer your question correctly, I'm trying to create a niche of these role models who are the new age artists who can do everything, because that's what an influencer really is. You can't be an influencer if you are just getting like 20,000 likes on your post for trying on a new outfit and like using some cream and like that. That's not influencing. That you're just selling a product, right? If you are a real influencer, you should be able to influence people's lifestyle choices, their goals, and their ambitions. It's not just about influencing them to buy a product. You are just a very decorated salesperson, right? So I'm just trying to put this idea into the youth that your role models basically need to inspire you to do more, like more than what you're capable of. So yeah.
So you keep yourself going in that way.
Yeah, in that direction. I want to be that kind of a role model and like inspire people. Like there should be a time when uh people ask questions like, how do you manage all of this? And that role model should be able to say, just like that, because human beings are actually capable of so much, right? So yeah.
It's very true.
I'd like to dig deep on one of the points you said before, where you said that in school, obviously, you were managing so many different tasks. You were doing the music, you were doing sports, you were doing academics.
Yeah.
I'm going to dig deep into sports right now. So I was doing what I'd like to call my research, or as my friends like to call it, stalking through your account. And I was scrolling back down and I saw that you were into lifting a couple of years back, and you were actually a proper gym rat.
Yeah.
What got you into lifting then?
To be honest, when I came into college, I was a very skinny and scrawny kid. All right, I was a really, really scrawny, and right opposite my college hostel room was the basketball team captain, uh, Tejasvi Godara, and he was like big. The basketball team boys were like really, really big. All right, all of them were like 6'3", 6'4". So out of that, Tejasvi and Hamza is going to become a very important person in my life because he was responsible for getting my first Bollywood movie. And most of the tours that I'm doing right now, even this Lalit tour that I am doing since 2019, he played a huge role in that. So these two college seniors, they really inspired me to like start working on my body and get fit, because they were like, Rahul, you look a certain way and you're putting out videos on YouTube. If your body is more presentable, you look a certain way, chances are just higher to get the shoots, get clear auditions and stuff like that. So that's when I started putting in work. I had this friend in my batch only called David and Yepeto. So you need a gym gang, like so that you can inspire each other, motivate each other.
Yeah, the gym bros.
Yeah, the gym bros. Yeah, the gym bros. Otherwise, alone it's very tough, to just go and day in and day out, like after classes, go work out. So we formed this gang, and every day we'd be like motivating each other. Like there'd be girls coming to the gym to check us out and like tease us and stuff. And like but we would still stay focused. We'd be like, no, we're not getting distracted with this. We're going to continue working out. So yeah, actually that question made me very nostalgic, Jeev. But yeah, second and third year of college is like when I got into proper fitness, lifting, and all of that. Yeah.
Another question I have, obviously, in your previous point, you said J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, Drake have all inspired you. Who's your favorite? Who's your favorite rapper, artist, singer right now?
Favorite rapper, artist, singer right now. Wow. I I really liked Mac Miller's work because he had great lyrics, music production was great, classically very well trained, and he was definitely ahead of his time. He passed away a bit too soon. I think Mac Miller is phenomenal when it comes to putting all three things together, like music production, rapping, songwriting, because even I do that a lot. I do my music production, I sing, and I write my own songs as well. But pure songwriting and artistry, I believe definitely Drake, because y- I don't think there is any other artist who has stayed so consistent with like back to back hits. Like Bruno Mars is phenomenal, but the thing about both Bruno Mars and Ed Sheeran is they take these long breaks and they disappear before they come back with another banger album. But Drake has been continuous, is super consistent. And the fact that he is so successful, like he's at the top when it comes to Spotify streams and Apple Music streams and like net worth and stuff, but he still stays consistent. Like he doesn't let the success get into him. And at Jeev, I'll be very honest, like it does get overwhelming at some point of time. Like when I was in college, my band was doing really well. We were winning almost every competition that we went to. We had a lot of fans. We were making a lot of money. At one point of time, you start to think like, this is it. Like it doesn't get better than this. And you start settling into that comfort space. So to be able to handle success and continue to like, strive through, it's not easy. And I think Drake's doing that really well. That's why I have massive respect for him. Yeah.
Um, me and Jeev obviously love debating. I may not be as good as at it as him, but we know you are an expert. And any advice on how to be the best or be at least good at debating?
So I thought, to be honest, both of y'all were really good, Moksh. Like really good. Y'all had some solid points in that debate that you guys did. I believe there isn't a specific technique as to how to be a good debater. See, the thing is, you can be equipped with the skills, like how to handle your voice register. If I'm speaking in a monotone the whole time and my tonality doesn't change, this podcast will get boring in the first 10 minutes only. But if you know how to like work around with your voice dynamics, project, right? So those are basic public speaking skills. But in terms of debating now, I think it's very important that you can think from both sides and you should allow your brain the headspace. There are some people now who don't let you complete a sentence. They're like, yeah, I know, but listen to my point. They don't listen to understand. They keep listening to respond only. That's the biggest problem. So for debating, you really need to listen to respond, listen to understand in depth, give the other person a chance to speak, then contemplate your points. One thing that we often don't do very one thing that we don't do very often is think before we speak. We do that very little. All right, you respond first and then you realize, oh, you know what, I shouldn't have done that. And that realization hits people like 3 4 days later. Like one day you're eating breakfast and you're like, I said this to this person, was it the right thing to do? And by the time it's too late to say sorry also, because you're like, now you're awkward, should I say or should I not say? So yeah, thinking before you speak, listening to understand, very important. And just to be a good debater, it's very important to have a point of opinion and believe in it. you know you need to believe it with your heart and soul. Like even if you've been given the difficult side of a topic, convince your mind to believe that no, I have to argue from this stance because this is what I have been given. Find your way out of this, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think I can really agree for the thing where it hits you only after a couple of days that you realize that, oh shit, you know what, the person who I was fighting with actually did have a point. And this mainly happens when I'm taking a shower, or is what I like to call it, shower thoughts. I'm like, okay, I'm taking a shower and I have nothing to do, and it hits me. I'm like, oh shit, I should have actually shut my trap and listened.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that I completely get. So another question I have, again, bouncing back to the whole music industry thing, where did you find your love for music, at least, or how did you, like, when you were a child, did you know that from day one that, all right, you know what, I'm going to become a singer, I'm going
Yeah.
to make these good music videos? Where did that love all come from?
Uh, when we were living in Bombay, we had two flats, and the flat above we had rented it out to a music producer who lives in Atlanta now. Very, very talented, huh? And Joyanto Pathak is his name. Great music he used to make. Sorry. Yeah, yeah. So absolutely amazing music he used to make. And I think he had gifted me a discography of Thriller by Michael Jackson. So it had a cassette and it had a CD also with like an album. And those days now, CDs used to come with these proper photo albums. Like they've got all the lyrics, pictures, tour pictures and stuff like that. That's because those days you didn't have Google to go and search all of this, right? So it was really, really nice. Those albums were very special. So I had that in my hand and I was actually going through all of Michael Jackson's concert pictures, his lyrics. So I think Michael Jackson was one of my first inspirations. Every musician and singer that you find of my age within this bracket of like 25 to 30, you'll see that they're supremely inspired by Michael Jackson because songwriting, finesse, stage presence, aura, nothing beats that man. How did I develop a passion for music that I really, really want to do this? I mean, the year for musicality was always there. My dad sent me to piano lessons. I was classically trained in the piano. But the love for performing arts started uh, when I was in boarding school. So our boarding school was like 4 hours away from the closest city. Like it was 4 hours away from Guwahati, 40 minutes away from the closest town, Tezpur, and it was completely surrounded by tea gardens and forests. It was like a Hogwarts, like in the middle of nowhere, like jungles, 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 tea gardens. Like other boarding schools, you could jump out of the gate and reach the city literally. In Assam Valley, you couldn't do that. So we had very little access to the world outside. We did not get cell phones, right? Uh, at least in my initial years, till the ninth grade, we weren't allowed to use cell phones. We would write letters to our parents, and we used to have TV time where we used to sit and watch Star World and VH1. All right, top 20 artists every month, and every year annually we used to have this one concert. So our school had this huge football stadium, and then they would like set up a proper outdoor stage, and shortlist 10 bands to play at the festival. And that's literally how like my music career started. Like some people start from small performances to pubs to bars, eventually bigger venues, and then concerts. My first thing was like a football stadium, and our school strength was like roughly 1,000 1,500 people. So I remember like, and it was like full Coachella level, huh? Like beautiful, like big stage lights, smoke machines, and everything. So I remember being in the seventh grade and seeing one of my seniors' bands perform, and everybody was going mental. And I was like, wow, it must be so amazing to be up there. So when after the concert, when I was walking back from the concert, I had this thought that even I want to do this, but I want to be singing original music. Like I want people to sing my lyrics instead of just singing somebody else's songs, because I had this thing that someday these artists are going to be irrelevant and people are not going to listen to them as much, which is even happening now. Like kids these days don't listen to the kind of music that I grew up in, just like we don't vibe with the music our parents and their parents listen to, like because generations change and the tastes change too. So I went back to my house and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna write my own song. So I put together a band, and class 8 was the first time we performed at this festival after auditioning. I remember when we went to audition, all the seniors were looking at us like, "Are you guys serious? You guys are too tiny for this." The guitars were bigger than us. Our drummer was totally disappearing behind the drum set. We were so young, and we killed the auditions. And then after that, when we were the first band to play like that night, first on the lineup. I remember being on stage and like I see 1,500 people. I see people screaming for us because we were like young. So I was like, oh, so cute. That was happening. And then there were like the smoke machines and the lights. And the performance got done in 15 minutes. And I was like, how did it finish so fast? Like 3 songs and we are done in 15 minutes. I have to come back here again. I have to keep doing this again and again and again till, my hunger is satisfied. And that's really what kept me going. Like, that feel of being on stage, it was like a superpower. Like you're not shooting lasers out of your hands, but like you're playing notes on your guitar that's making people 20 feet away dance like crazy, right? People are forgetting their differences. Somebody doesn't like somebody, but they're standing next to each other and then just dancing to your music. And I was like, wow, music is such a superpower. I have to be able to do this again. So every year we would go back onto that stage at the annual festival, play the festival. And then in the 11th grade, my school headmaster, Mr. Montfort, he said, you know what, Rahul's band is really talented. Let them go out and compete in college festivals. So we started going out to college festivals like IIT and stuff like that. And IIT has like the most high level band competitions, all right. So we started going for competitions like that. And by the time I was in college, we were winning these competitions. So our judges would always tell us like, there's a lot of potential, Rahul, keep pushing. There's a lot of potential, keep pushing, keep pushing. So that's what like really, really kept me going.
I
So, Moksh, if I may just ask another question. So, obviously, so you gained a lot of experience, being in the whole music industry for so long. I mean, you've
Yeah.
been performing since you were in eighth.
Yeah.
What's one important lesson you've learned from them? So it could be life lesson, it could be music specific lesson. What's one thing that you still implement currently from the lessons you've learned?
The sound check. Artists don't do that. Like when they are young, they're super excited to just get on stage and just perform the song. But sound check is so important. You need to make sure your levels are intact, the bass is hitting the chest, the vocals are super clear. So even now, if you look at the Instagram stories of my concerts and stuff, no matter how many people are there, no matter how small the venue and the space is, my voice is always very, very clear. I need to make sure that happens because you need to remember people can't go back home thinking only about the bass and the loud sound. They need to know that they heard your voice because that's what sticks to them. Right? All these great artists that we listen to, we don't listen to them only because of the music. We listen to them because their voice also hits at a certain level. No. So soundcheck is very important. And the important life lesson I learned from that is like you always need to be prepared for any kind of situation. You know, because technical flaws and faults will always happen. But how do you get back up from there? How do you recover? And how do you still put on a good show? There will be days when you'll have 103 fever. Do you have your strength to carry on through? How do you pick yourself up from that? There have been times there will be people negatively jeering you in the crowd. How do you turn a blind eye to that and still put up a banger performance? And it doesn't matter, you know, if three people don't like you in the audience, the other 100 will like you. That experience I got earlier on when I was in the eighth grade only. I still remember now when I was in the ninth or 10th grade, I remember in one of the concerts, there were a couple of seniors in the front jeering at me, like negative jeering, like three or four of them. But I was like, man, it doesn't matter. For three guys who probably just want to like pull down spirits, there are like 30 girls, senior girls out there who are screaming my name. So why should it matter to me, right? So yeah, like you've got to turn a blind eye to the haters because you know they'll only hate you when they're a tad bit jealous. Otherwise, nobody really does.
That's very
Exactly.
true.
Yeah.
Also, I I used to have a band in school,
Yeah.
in Legacy itself. It was our school band, but
Uh,
like COVID hit and we weren't able to perform anywhere. How do you think COVID has hit you as an artist?
Wow. So I remember I was invited by the consulate in Thailand, Chiang Mai, to perform at the Republic Day special. So I had to perform at the embassy. A lot of ambassadors from around the world that come, and that's another thing I wanted to say. Like I have played for probably I'm the only artist in India who has played for that many diverse age groups and audience setups. Like I don't know if there is any rapper who has played underground clubs for school audiences, college audiences, school and college faculty, played for like complete NGO crowd, and then played for international ambassadors. All right, like it was extremely, extremely difficult, but I was like, no man, the ambassador from Singapore is here, from Indonesia is here, Thailand's entire like consulate is here. Got to put on a banger show. So the previous year I'd gone to Bangkok for a music festival. The ambassador of Egypt, Kenya, and Indonesia had come for that music festival, and they really, really liked my sound. So they were like, "Listen, we're gonna bring you back to Thailand for another festival, but you come during Republic Day, and your songs have a social cause. So address us on independence, socialism, secularism, and things like that." So I went back a year later, and I remember at that point of time, before I left for the concert, my sister sent me a message saying that. Rahul, there is this new virus outbreak from China. Some 79 people have been affected. It's called COVID. So please make sure, like, you're wearing your mask and things like that. So I was teaching in Bombay that time. I remember my biology teacher there, she gave me one of the surgical masks. Rest in peace, Aziza. She died a year later from COVID only, but she was the first person who gave me a mask. Really sweet woman. So anyway, I land up in Thailand. I do this concert. I have a great time, and then I'm invited to North Chiang Mai University, again further north up in Thailand. 50 years anniversary they're having in this college, and it's a wild concert. We're having a great time. Like the international models, actors, influencers, radio jockeys, students. It's a wild vibe. After the show, I'm taking pictures with these people, signing autographs for Chinese people, for Singaporean people. The concert gets done. I am on my flight back to India. And moment I land, I check on my phone. It says 300 active COVID cases around the world. And within 2 weeks, like, bam, the whole country is under lockdown with over 1,000 cases. And I'm like, how did it happen so fast? I was supposed to fly to Japan right after that, and then for a music festival to Portugal. But now international travels have been affected greatly because of that. The Portugal concert I ended up doing online. I was the only Asian artist to play that lineup. It was the Colors Music Festival, and people from every part of the world like had been chosen. So I was the only Asian artist to play that lineup. Crazy. It happened online. Earned all my money in euros, but I just couldn't go there to perform. So it did really hit me hard, Moksha, like, because I lost out on the opportunity to tour internationally, and I really, really miss touring international, because there's just a different kind of high and excitement when you're playing for people who don't look like you at all and who speak a completely different language. It's a vibe, and seeing them like vibe to your music, it's spectacular. So that I really, really missed. But in the positive stride, because I was, locked up in my house in Mumbai, and we were staying in Worli, and Worli was one of the most affected zones in India at that point of time. I started writing a lot of songs, you know, uh, close to like 500 songs and different tunes I wrote, and I kept them as backup, and I'm gonna start releasing them slowly, slowly. So that's what I did, and I started writing a lot of Hindi songs. Also made a lot of proper Desi fans. Up until then, I was only making English music, so I tried to use it as positively as possible. Yeah.
I mean,
So, obviously, it's amazing what you've achieved. I just want to talk about one of the things you said, where you said when you were in eighth, you were getting a lot of hate from your seniors. So, what would you, so if you had to give a new and upcoming artist advice on how to deal with hate, what's something you tell them?
I would just tell them this, that when they can't be like you, and they're jealous of what you can achieve, and they're afraid of what you can achieve, only those people will hate. Like, even within the artist community, like, I can say this for sure, like, I've only had love for my artists. Whenever they have needed help or like a shout out or anything, like, I'm always ready to do it for them. Sometimes some of them don't do that back, and I'm completely okay with that, because I understand that feeling that, oh, I might lose my fans if I start promoting this person's music on my profile and stuff. So I've always kept an open heart, because I believe in like spreading the community, growing the community. You need to have that mindset, Jeev. You need to let small things like hate and insecurity stop affecting you. The more you're bothered about insecurities, hate, and what other people might say, na, your zen mode gets affected and you can't create. For artists, it's very, very necessary to believe in the greater vision. Like, it doesn't matter what other people are saying about me, I still want to get my point across. Like, imagine there is this empty canvas at an art studio, and every morning you get up, you're like, this person at the door always makes fun of me. Today I'm not going to walk into that art studio. The next day you go to get coffee, and then you don't like the way the person is looking at you across the coffee counter, then you are like, today also I don't want to go to that art studio. The next day you come out, it starts raining, and you're like, I also don't want to go to the art studio today because it's raining. The canvas is just gonna lie incomplete. So haters and critics are like that. You've got to turn a blind eye, all of this. Just get out there, finish the damn painting. Super, super important.
where do you see yourself? I mean, you have big ambitions and everything. Where do you see yourself in 5, 10, 20 years from now?
5 years, I see myself uh, performing most of my favorite venues. I do want to perform at the O2 Wembley Theatre. I do want to perform at Madison Square Garden. I do want to perform at the Fruit Market in, I think it's in Scotland. Beautiful, beautiful venue. It's actually called the Fruit Market. Super amazing venue. So I do want to perform at the Royal Albert Hall. I want to do all of this within the next 5 years. All right, and the NCPA in Bombay also. These are amazing, amazing venues. Madison Square Garden, O2 Wembley Theatre, Fruit Market, NCPA in Mumbai, and I know it's a far stretch, but I do want to perform at the Rolling Loud Festival, uh, and the Soul Train Awards Festival in the USA. That I see myself doing in the first 5 years, because I don't have too much time with me either. Like once you've crossed your 35s and all, no, then like people don't want to listen to. Then I want to shift into a more senior role of like bringing up artists, producing music for them. That's something that I'm already doing, and I want to make sure I'm starting to like shape their careers, like send out more musicians into the world who are putting out high quality music. That's something that I want to do. In the next 10 years, I see myself running a full-fledged school actively, like a proper international school, but in my village in Assam, not in like a major city. I want to do that in my village, in my ancestral home. We already have a village school there, slowly building it. So in the next 10 years, I see it running like properly as an IB school. Like, because why can't rural people have access to international curriculum like you guys do, right? They deserve it too. I mean, if only city kids are studying the IB curriculum and Cambridge and IGCSE and stuff like that, India is never going to progress, because you need to get that kind of education and mindset into rural India. So in the next 10 years, I see myself doing that. And in the next 20 years, I just hope I am active and fit and fine to be running this entire enterprise as, uh, freshly as possible, like with the fresh energy I approach everything. I want to be doing this actively in the next 20 years as well, leading people and then inspiring them to do the same things that I'm doing. Yeah, maybe 30 years later I do want to get into politics at some point, once I'm a senior person and I've done enough social work. I don't think like 50, 55 will be a bad time to get into politics, because by then you are experienced. You are not just another young guy with blonde hair trying to talk really ambitious stuff. By then, like, I want to be respected as a proper philanthropist, person who has done a lot of social work. Like right now, the goal is to do a lot of social work for the next 25 to 30 years and then stand for politics. I don't want to like jump into it before and then be like, vote for me, because then the whole ordeal becomes like he's doing it only for the votes. Like I want to make sure I put in the grind first, make some actual impact in society. And if I can't do that within the next 20 years, then I don't want to do politics. I'm fine with being just a philanthropist and just doing my best and being well wishers to the people who are sitting in the legislative assembly. But yeah, in the next 30 years, I definitely see myself contesting for politics if I can achieve all these goals within 5, 10, and 20. Yeah.
So I think we're running out of time. I have 4 very controversial questions, which you have to answer without any hesitation. But obviously, you can choose not to answer it. The first question: who's one famous celebrity / influencer that you regret giving your number to?
This one's gonna get me into a lot of trouble. Uh, no, we're not gonna answer this one just for the sake of the other person's satisfaction. Yeah.
The second question, again, you can choose not to answer this. What's the biggest check you've been given to perform?
The biggest check. What are these questions? Matlab, why do you guys want to know all of this? Okay, the biggest check that I have been given to perform. Wow, no, let's keep biggest one at whole, because I believe, you know what, Jeev, my biggest check is more than the money and everything that I have earned. And I believe for my age, I have earned a significant bit of money through my performances. Otherwise, I will not be able to do all of this, like get a car for my dad, help my parents build my home, build a school in our village, that have been affected by floods, and, carry out tree plantation drives. And every year I also carry out, the relief missions in Assam. We also put a lot of our own money into these things, because sometimes you can't raise all of that money through crowdfunding, right? So I'm happy, like with the money that I'm earning. And I don't want to be hungry for too much also, because if you keep money as the primary goal, like you do tend to get deviated from the actual mission. But I would say my biggest check is earning the love of people, music producers around the country, like really reputed music producers around the country. Like last night we did the release party for my new song with Karan Kanchan, one of the best music producers in the country. He's worked with Pusha T, with Vince Staples, with Divine. He's been on Netflix, produced music for the film White Tiger. and he's produced music with Kashmir. So one of the finest artists. I just dropped him off right now. He's left for the airport. Worked with Stana Beats, who's worked with PNB Rock, who's worked with YNW Melly, with Young Thug. So the thing is, I have the love and support of people like this who welcome me to their homes. I've sat in and eaten meals with their families, So to be able to live with Ayushmann Khurrana for a week, go swimming with him. Those are my biggest checks, earning the love of people like that and entering that private space. Because see, Jeev, you can earn 10 lakhs, 15 lakhs from a concert, but you still can't buy an experience like that. No. Tomorrow you can't
Right.
pay 15 lakhs to Rishi Kapoor and say that, sir, I want to do a movie with you. Like, I'm the only artist from the Northeast to have done a movie with him before he passed away. And that was my first movie with him. So, these are experiences of gold that no amount of money will ever be able to buy, So yeah, these
Right,
are
sir.
like priceless experiences. Yeah.
Yeah. So for my last two questions, last two controversial questions, who's the uh, most nice person you've met in the whole Bollywood media industry?
Whole Bollywood media industry. Nicest person. Apart from Ayushmann Khurrana, because I've lived and spent time with him, I've met only nice people. Even Sonam Kapoor's a sweetheart. I lost her earphones and she didn't have any complaints. I once lost my lens in a washroom and she actually helped me like search for the lens. She cleaned up the entire bathroom and I've never seen like a Bollywood princess do that. Like, it was a CCD washroom and she asked everybody to stand out. She's like, well, I'm gonna look for his lens. Because I was the youngest person on set. So she's super, super sweet. I think Kartik Aaryan is a sweetheart too. Met and spent a lot of time with them. But inspiring people, I would definitely say Love Ranjan, who produced my last film, and he's putting out some banger films right now. Signed to T series, he put out Soni Ki Sweetie Ki Titu Ki Shadi, and then great movies he's put out, working closely with Ajay Devgan. That man's outreach is amazing, and how he managed to establish everything using only newcomers in the industry. So these are some of the coolest people I've met, yeah, in the industry for sure.
So, and for my last question, I think we have a minute left precisely. What's so say you have one day left to live. What's one thing you have to do?
Cook a
Like
meal for
this.
my
Cook a
Yeah.
meal for your parents. This is wholesome answer. So,
yeah.
all right. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. We have another 30 seconds until the meeting gets over. It was a
Yeah.
pleasure having you on, sir. Guys,
Yeah.
don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment down below. We'll tag Rahul sir's Spotify down below, his Insta account down below. Give him a follow. Go listen to all of his songs, watch all of his movies, videos, everything. And yeah, thank you for watching.
Thank you for
And if
watching.
we
Much
don't
love.
see you again, good evening. Sorry, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Thank you, guys.
All right.